Hey, yo, this is the Car Pro Insider Podcast, episode 34, How to Deliver a Powerful Vehicle Presentation. Let's jump into it. Hey, what's up? I'm Robert Wiseman, and I have helped car sales professionals from around the world sell more cars by building their personal brands, attracting high-quality car buyers, and becoming the go-to car guy or gal in their marketplace. So what does it take to become the car sales professional that people are lining up to do business with? This is the Car Pro Insider. Yo, what's going on? What is happening? I am so glad you're here. Car Pro Insider Podcast, episode 34. And you know, this is me, Robert Wiseman, your host. I want to give you a big shout out and thank you so much for taking the time and stopping by the podcast and, dialing me into your eardrums for a hot second. This is the podcast for car sales pros just like you who are looking for outside of the box strategies, creative and different ideas, and the latest and greatest resources to help you up your game and reach success in the car sales business. Now, today's session is going to be great. Listen, today we're going to talk about delivering a powerful vehicle presentation. Now, listen, we don't talk about that a lot today, and it's something that sometimes we forget about when we're looking at all the new shiny things out there and all the how to acquire more leads and how to build our brand and get ourselves out there, all the flashy stuff. But today we're going to dive into, frontline tactics, right? What you're dealing with on a daily, what you still have to do. Even if you get people know, like, and trust you, you still need to deliver a compelling and powerful presentation. You need to present your product properly, right? You need to show them the value in doing business with you, right? You need to show them why this vehicle is the right one for them, if in fact it is the right one for them. But you need to show them why it is. Like, we're selling a product that you can hold in your hand. You know what I mean? That they can smell, they can touch, they can, see. You know what I mean? So it's still a tangible product, and we need to sell it as such. So today's episode, we're going to talk about how you can deliver a powerful presentation that will compel your prospects, your customers to do business with you, that to realize it is the right car for them. All right, let's jump into that. So before I go into my key tips here for delivering a powerful and killer vehicle presentation, you got to know that the presentation is almost a performance. It needs to be almost scripted like a performance. Now, when I say scripted, I don't mean word for word. I just mean kind of the process of how you present a vehicle, right? Like, you go through the same steps, but not always presenting the same things. And that's what we'll get into. But it needs to be it needs to be a performance. It needs to be planned. You need to know there's only a handful of different presentations that you can do on a particular vehicle. And I'm going to go over that when I go through these key points to delivering this presentation. But it needs to be planned. You can't go in trying to wing it, right? And just trying to custom tailor it around everybody. You're still going to do that, but in a way that's still structured. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm going to show you here. So that being said, let's jump into where it starts. The first thing is, when you're going to present your product, is we're not going to do this on your lot, right? On the blacktop, on the dealership with all the cars, just pulling the car out of line or what have you. And we're going to go into that further. But first is, you're always going to drive first, right? Once you land them on a car, like, we've already done all that, right? Hopefully you've done a good job of landing them on the right vehicle that you're actually taking the time to really dive into, drive and present, etc. So when I'm going to show someone a car, first thing is I'm going to jump in, right? I've already figured out who the primary driver of the vehicle is going to be if there's more than one person there, if it's more than one customer, right? But if it's one, of course, they're going to sit in the front. But, I find out who the primary driver is. I get them in front and I drive first. And here's a couple of reasons why. First is they're not comfortable with the car at all. A lot of times it's parked in real weird, or parked in somewhere. Even if you brought it out up front, there's still a lot of action going on, a lot of cars, a lot of people driving around. They don't know the dealership's lot like you do, and they don't know the car like you do. So you want to drive first for that reason alone, and then also think like this, where when you're driving, you're going to drive them off to a different location, which we're going to go through again, as I mentioned. But when you drive first off, you're keeping control of the process. Like, you can't control people. You can't control your customer. Like I'm sure your sales manager has said to you. I know mine have to me in the past, or somebody has said, you can't control people. This isn't Nazi Germany, right? It's a car dealership. So what you can control and own is the process, right? And it still gives that sense of control, right? It's still you controlling it. You're driving it off, right? You're taking the car by the wheel, so to speak, right? And what you get to do at that point is you get to show them things kind of behind the wheel that you can point out, because you're familiar with the car, you're familiar with the route you're about to go on, you're familiar with the dealership lot and all the action and what's going on there and how to maneuver around there like a pro, right? I assume you do. So what you get to do is you get to point out some of the features and things on a steering wheel and show them things like right there on the dash in front of the driver that it's easily, the driver can see it the easiest, and it's most accessible and really only, for them to use, right? So instead of you sitting shotgun while they're driving, trying to point the stuff out and this and that, no, you can show them to where they can lean in and look at it and see it in action by somebody that knows how to use it, knows where it is. And that's one of my key parts about that, is because I've been there. I've done it the way where I was riding shotgun, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I can't believe I'm like riding with this person I don't know. And I'm like, all right, so take a look at this thing right here while they're driving. And I'm like, why am I encouraging them to take their eyes off the road? I don't know anything about their steez behind the wheel. I don't know anything, how many cars they've driven, etc., right? So I want to do that. I want to show them and demo some things around the steering wheel and whatnot as I just go for a short little spin, which leads me to number 2, which is present the vehicle. Do your vehicle walk around off site. Don't do it there at the dealership with all the other cars around, all the other distractions, people coming in and out. What if you get a phone call? Then when you're even with a customer, someone come out and be like, hey, yo, come here. Like, or another customer comes in, like, man, I don't want to be bothered with that. I don't want to even know another customer is there if I'm already with one. You know what I mean? Like, I want to stay focused on them and their needs and stay in my zone, right? I don't want to be broken out of that. So I take them off site. Now I drive them. That's why I'm driving, because I'm going to drive them to a place that I go to all the time. It might be a little restaurant parking lot or something right near your dealership. A hotel I used to use a restaurant or a hotel. I switched between them because sometimes I wanted to drive a little bit longer. And anyway, it doesn't matter, but somewhere off site. And then you go there, and that's where you're going to start demoing the features, right? That's where you're going to start showing them around this car and telling them everything about it. At first, you're going to be like, all right, guys, hey, jump in. Before you even start showing them anything in dealership, you pull out of the line, this and that, and you get them in, open the doors for them, sit them down, you hop in, you drive first, as we mentioned, and then you take them off site, and off site is where you're going to get busy. You're going to wow them with showing them what this puppy has to offer. It's going to be off site. It's going to seem different to them. It's going to be more comfortable, more space, and no other distraction, no other salespeople, no other customers, no distractions, just you, them, and their future car. So that's the second one, is you're driving first is one. Second, then you're going to present this vehicle to them at this secondary site, off site. I used to use restaurants like a Bob Evans parking lot I used for the longest. I used like a Holiday Inn or some kind of hotel's parking lot as well. So get them off site so you clear them of distractions and you have their full undivided attention when you're going to present the vehicle to them. All right, next, you want to focus on what your customer is focused on, right? You need to find out what's hot for them, like what is their main thing. Now, look, it usually boils down to 3 different things that are most important to most car shoppers, right? It's safety, it's performance, or it's luxury / like technology. Right? Get the gadgets, the extras, some bells and whistles, right? It's one of those 3 things. So I usually just ask them, like, hey, so what most of the individuals like yourself that I've worked with in the past, they were most interested in luxury, performance, or safety. Luxury meaning like bells and whistles, technology, performance, or safety. Which one of those 3 categories would you fall into? Boom, they're going to give you an answer, and then you know where you need to put a little extra oomph in your presentation, right? You know what you need to focus on more, right? And wring out the washcloth of all the benefits and, all the features and what everything does that pertains to what is most interested, what they're most interested in, right? It only seems right. Now, you're going to, show them, everybody certain things on a certain vehicle that they might not know about, but they're going to like. You know what I mean? Of course you are. But somebody that's interested in luxuries and technologies, right? Man, they're not going to care or be focused on so much on what's under the hood. You know what I'm saying? So you can spend less time there. You do want to spend a little time there and show them that, which I'll get into in the next one, but you don't want to spend a lot of your time there going through and talking all that engine talk that I really don't even know how to speak, right? And most of the customers don't, except those people that are like performance-driven gearheads, right? So this one is you want to focus on what the customer's focused on. Find out what's hot for them, what's most important. Present to them those categories. Because what other categories are there that you can present on a vehicle? There's really only those 3. So find out which one of those 3 is most important to them, and then make sure you pay extra attention to those features when you're presenting your product. Next is you want to make sure that you set up your presentation and walk around the vehicle to end at the driver's seat. So what you want to do is you want to start at the front of the vehicle. All of you standing in the front of the vehicle, looking at it with the hood down, and then you go up and you already have it popped, but you don't have it up. And then you go up and you open it up, right? And then you just touch on a couple main things, what the engine has, tell them a little bit about the gas mileage, and even then it's a good time to cover kind of the warranty on the protection on what they're going to get, how your company stands or your manufacturer rather stands behind that engine right there, unless they're performance driven. If they're performance driven, you're going to go in there and you're going to talk all that gearhead jargon that I'm not too familiar with. It's not my thing, but you get what I'm saying. So you're going to start there, and then you're going to move clockwise around. I guess it would be clockwise if I'm starting there. Yeah, you're going to go to the passenger, around to the passenger seat, around to, from the back seat to there, the back side, the passenger back seat, if it's a 4-door, right, whatever it is, around to the back, to the trunk, to this and that, and then around to the side, and then where you're going to end at the driver's seat, where you're then going to sit them in that seat. And then from there, you're going to then review those steering wheel controls and things on the dash and whatnot, the important stuff. Unless they're very tech and luxury driven, you're going to go deeper into those features, right? And you're going to position their seat. You're going to show them how to adjust the seat. And then you're going to help them find and get it comfortable, remind them to check their mirrors and whatnot, with you just kneeling down beside them going through this. Man, this helps them get comfortable to make sure that when they're driving this thing that they're where they want to be, they're as comfortable as possible, because that's going to play a big part in them knowing that this vehicle is right for them, right? So if they're not comfortable in it, they're certainly not going to think it's right for them. Spend the time to get their seat comfortable, help them get their mirror set up, then you're going to hop shotgun too, so you're right there asking them to answer questions like a professional, as opposed to sitting in the back seat and you're doing that where you're coming up between, if it's two people. Even if it's two people, if it's one person, of course you're going to sit shotgun. You'd look like an idiot if you sat in the back like some gangster being chauffeured around, right? But if there's somebody else, you're going to politely ask them, and then you're going to, along this test drive, I would pull over and let that second person drive, even if they're never going to drive the car, especially if it's a husband and wife, and let's say this vehicle's for the husband. Offer then, while they're driving, for them to get a chance, and they'll take it. They'll know if it's necessary or not. But then offer it along the way. But just make sure you sit the primary driver in the driver's seat and you sit shotgun, because, man, you don't want to be that person like creeping up between the two drivers from the back seat. Like, I've been there and I hated that, and it just I feel like we've lost control there. It's awkward. Right, you're still right there, so you can answer questions. That's what we tell them. Listen, sir, ma'am, if you don't mind, I'd like to sit up front with him so I can, be right there to answer questions and point out and show him and help him with any of the, the gadgets and the things here with this vehicle in case he needs it. Cool? No one's gonna say no. So just ask, just let them know why, right? Instead of just like, hey, I got shotgun. You know what I'm saying? Let them know why. But look, this still gives you that control, and then you're making sure they're 100% comfortable in the seat, right? There's still a process. You know where you're going with the vehicle. You're not just randomly going over different things. You're sitting them down nicely, making sure the seat and they get completely cozy and get the mirrors where they need them to be. And that way they're 100% ready to drive this car with you as their front co-pilot, there to help them answer any questions, point out anything that they might like to that's in their reach and that's safe for them to look at that you haven't showed them in action. You know what I mean? Or answer their questions or help them with any of the technology or any of the steering wheel controls, etc. So you want to end at the driver's seat, start from the front of the car, facing it, and then end with them at the driver's seat, you positioning that primary driver as cozy as possible. All right, the fifth and the final one is connect their smartphone to the Bluetooth in the vehicle. Now, first off, listen, if they don't have a smartphone, obviously you can't do this. But, man, who doesn't have a smartphone, right? Who's buying a new car today that has the technology that can connect to a phone that doesn't have the phone? I mean, that's 2 in 20 minimum, right? 1%. So what you want to do is you want to connect that phone. Now, a lot of you probably are listening, you probably are, but if you're not, make sure that you do that, because it does a couple of things. Even if they resist, just like do that even before you really drive off, obviously. And because you're showing them how to do so, and then it's connected for them to really take some ownership. 2, you might get 100% lucky and somebody calls them while they're on the test drive with you and they get to answer it. It's really lame for you to sit there and try to call them and have a conversation. It's just the feed. It doesn't work. You know that. But if somebody calls them, man, you hit the jackpot. But then also encourage them to pick some music out, right? If they don't have music on their phone, which that's another very uncommon thing today, right? Is then go to YouTube and put on their favorite, ask them what their favorite song is, grab their phone, have them go to YouTube and press play on their favorite song. Get them something familiar playing, right? The music they love, a song that connects with them, and they're in this new car, they're smelling that smell, right? They're being mesmerized, and they're assuming ownership by taking the effort, they're connecting it to their new car, and then they're sitting in there rocking and jamming out to their favorite song. come on, no brainer, right? Like that kind of stuff connects people, feel that. Music is so powerful. You know what I mean? Think about it. I mean, it is to me, and I know it is to so many. It's so important, and it can make or break experiences. For example, I've been to weddings that were the best weddings, right? But the DJ sucked. Everything else was 10 across the board, but the DJ murdered it, right? He sucked, murdered it in a bad way. He bombed the whole event, right? I'm sure you understand what I'm saying here. So the right music, it's going to build the experience even more. It's going to enhance that euphoria, that high they're getting, because people love to buy. They don't like to be sold, but they love to buy. And here you're not selling them. They're buying now. Right? So connect their phone, let them get their jam on, and best case scenario, somebody's going to call them while they're out there. That's the jackpot right there for sure. All right. So let me run down these 5 real quick in a quick review and get you on up out of here. One is you always drive first. Keep control of the process. 2 is present the vehicle off site. Eliminate distractions, have their undivided attention, and make sure that way there's no surprises. Anything's going to pop up. A mad ex-customer coming in, and that mad ex-girlfriend coming in, phone calls coming in, because they always call you to come to a phone call at a dealership, even when you're with a client, even if you tell them not to. So face it, take them off site so you have no interruptions. They can focus on you and you're 100% focused on them. Then next is focus on and unearth what is most important to the customer. It's going to be luxury / technologies, gadgets, performance, or safety. Those 3 different things, and that way you can build your process, your presentation for around each of those things for each vehicle. You see what I'm saying? It ups your preparation game, because you're going to ask them which things, and then you're going to know how to present. Like off the top of your head, it's going to be like breathing. You'll know how to go through and emphasize on whichever's most important to them out of the luxury technologies, performance, and safety. Once you know that, you can be prepared and know how you're going to present that and emphasize on those points on each vehicle. Next is end at the driver's seat. Help them assume control, get the seat set exactly where they like it, make sure the mirrors are right, make sure they are 100% comfortable when they're about to drive your vehicle, because if they're not comfortable in it, man, it's not going to feel right for them. So comfort is very important, and we miss the boat on that a lot. So make sure they're comfy. And then next is get them assuming ownership by connecting their phone to the Bluetooth, and make sure that you enhance their experience with something that costs you nothing by putting on a song and making sure a song's playing that they love, that's going to put them, enhance the experience for them automatically and put them in that zone, have them feeling good. Music makes people feel good, especially the songs that they love to hear, right? That's it for this episode 34. I'm so glad that you took the time out. Listen, head over to robertwiesman, wiesman.com/34. Get all the detailed show notes and links, bonuses, etc. from this episode. I will see you next week.